The price of admission. Commander Alina Kovac stood in the massive docking bay of Confederation Station Alpha, her weathered hands clasped behind her back as she stared at humanity's gift, a ship that looked like it belonged in a scrapyard rather than a fleet. The vessel's hull bore the scratches and scars of decades of service, its once pristine surface now a patchwork of repairs and worn metal. High Counselor Vexther, a towering figure with iridescent scales and multiple sets of eyes, gestured toward the ship with what passed for a smile among the Nexarian species. "We present the Earthbound Dawn, a testament to the Confederation's welcome of humanity into our ranks." Alina maintained her diplomatic composure, though her jaw clenched slightly. After centuries of watching Earth from afar, the Confederation had finally deemed humans worthy of probationary membership. This ship was their test, though Alina knew it was designed to be their failure. "The Earthbound Dawn has served admirably in our scout fleet," Vexther continued, his translator struggling to convey the subtle condescension in his tone. "We believe it suits Earth's current technological level." First Officer Marcus Rodriguez stepped forward, his dark eyes scanning the vessel with barely concealed disappointment. "High Counselor, the ship's specifications seem to be several generations behind current Confederation standards." "An observation that speaks to your species' potential for growth," Vexther replied smoothly. "The probationary period will allow you to adapt to our ways." Dr. Raj Patel, the mission's lead physicist, was already circling the ship with his handheld scanner, his expression shifting from frustration to curiosity. Jun Nakamura, their chief engineer, followed close behind, making notes on her tablet with increasing intensity. Alina watched her core teamwork, recognizing the familiar gleam in their eyes. The Confederation had made a crucial mistake. They had given humans a puzzle to solve, a challenge to overcome. And if there was one thing humans excelled at, it was finding solutions where none should exist. "We accept this generous gift with gratitude," Alina announced, the formal words tasting bitter on her tongue. "When shall we begin our preparation for the upcoming fleet demonstration?" Vexther's upper eyes blinked in sequence. "You have 3 Earth months, though perhaps, given your ship's capabilities, you might prefer to decline participation." "Wouldn't miss it for the world, High Counselor," Alina replied with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Or should I say, for the world's?" After the Confederation delegation departed, Alina gathered her crew in what passed for a briefing room aboard the Earthbound Dawn. The space was cramped, the air recyclers wheezed, and the lighting flickered intermittently. "They've given us a flying coffin," Rodriguez stated bluntly, voicing what everyone was thinking. "The shield generators can barely deflect space dust, let alone weapons fire. The FTL drive is generations behind current tech. Even the life support systems are." "Fascinating," Dr. Patel interrupted, his eyes bright with excitement. "Commander, they've made a fundamental error in their assumptions. This ship's core systems, they're based on principles we've been theorizing about for decades." Jun nodded eagerly, pulling up a holographic display of the ship's engine core. "The Confederation abandoned this line of technological development centuries ago because it didn't fit their understanding of physics. But we've been working with these concepts since the quantum revolution of the 2030s. Alina leaned forward, studying the displays. "Explain it to me in simple terms." "They see technology as a linear progression," Raj explained, gesturing animatedly. "But humans, we think sideways, we look at limitations and see possibilities. This ship isn't just old tech, it's a foundation we can build on in ways they never imagined." "Because they never had to imagine," Rodriguez added, understanding dawning on his face. "They've had unlimited resources, perfect conditions, but humans thrive on challenges," Alina finished, a slow smile spreading across her face. "How long will you need?" Jun and Raj exchanged glances. 2 months to implement the basic modifications," Jun said. "Another 2 weeks to test and stabilize the systems." "You have 6 weeks," Alina replied. "The Confederation expects us to fail. Let's show them what humanity does with impossible odds." As her crew dispersed to begin their work, Alina stood at the viewport, watching the distant stars. The Confederation had meant to humble humanity with this gift. Instead, they had handed them exactly what they needed, a chance to prove that sometimes the greatest innovations come not from perfect conditions, but from the desperate need to overcome limitations. The Earthbound Dawn might have been meant as humanity's cage, but Alina and her crew would transform it into something else entirely, their key to the stars, and a lesson the Confederation would never forget: breaking the mold. The Earthbound Dawn's engine room had transformed into a maze of improvised equipment and hybrid technology over the past 3 weeks. Jun Nakamura stood in the center of the organized chaos, her hands covered in thermal conductive gel as she manipulated the crystalline structure of the ship's power core. The Confederation engineers are requesting another inspection. Rodriguez's voice came through the ship's comm system. They seem concerned about our modifications. Jun exchanged a knowing look with Dr. Patel, who was calibrating what appeared to be a primitive quantum field generator. Tell them we're conducting routine maintenance, nothing to worry about. The truth was far from routine. While the Confederation had perfected direct energy manipulation through brute force and unlimited resources, they had completely overlooked the potential of quantum uncertainty principles. Their rigid, linear thinking had left a massive blind spot in their scientific understanding, one that the human crew was now exploiting. "The quantum field matrix is holding steady," Raj announced, his eyes fixed on readings that would have made any Confederation engineer question their sanity. "We're successfully maintaining multiple probability states within the containment field." The breakthrough had come during their second week of modifications. While studying the ship's outdated systems, Raj had realized that the Confederation's abandoned technology accidentally tapped into quantum fields they had never fully understood. By applying Earth's theoretical models of quantum manipulation, they could transform the ship's primitive systems into something entirely new. Lieutenant Zara Hassan, their quantum computing specialist, burst into the engine room, her dark eyes bright with excitement. "The processing core accepted the update. We've successfully integrated Earth's quantum computing principles with the ship's original matrix." This was another advantage the humans had discovered. While the Confederation relied on incredibly advanced but rigid computing systems, humanity had been developing quantum computing theories that embraced uncertainty and probability. The hybrid system they created was less powerful than modern Confederation computers, but infinitely more flexible. "Commander Kovac needs to see this," Jun said, wiping her hands on a cleaning cloth. "We're ready for the first full system test." In the ship's command center, Alina studied the holographic display showing the extensive modifications her crew had implemented. The ship's original schematics were still visible, but now they were overlaid with patterns of energy and probability that seemed to defy conventional physics. "Walk me through it," she ordered, her expression intense. Raj stepped forward, gesturing to the engine core's display. "Instead of trying to brute force our way through spacetime like Confederation ships, we're using quantum uncertainty principles to suggest to reality where we'd like to be. The ship doesn't move through space in the traditional sense. It shifts through probable locations." "And the weapons systems?" Alina asked, nodding the significant changes to the ship's defensive capabilities. "That's where it gets interesting," Jun replied with a slight smile. "We've modified the old pulse cannons to fire quantum probability fields instead of energy beams. When they hit a target, they don't cause damage through force. They temporarily shift the target into a quantum state where it intersects with multiple probabilities." Rodriguez frowned. "In simple terms, we're not destroying targets," Zara explained. "We're briefly making them exist in all possible states simultaneously. The effect only lasts for a microsecond, but that's enough to disrupt any ship's systems completely." Alina nodded slowly, understanding dawning in her eyes. "And because we're using their old technology as a foundation, their sensors will read it as a simple malfunction rather than an attack," Jun finished. "At least until it's too late." The commander straightened, her decision made. "Begin full system testing. I want to know exactly what this ship can do before the fleet demonstration. Over the next week, the Earthbound Dawn underwent a series of carefully concealed tests in the outer reaches of the station's sensor range. Each success brought new revelations about the potential of their hybrid technology. The ship could now transition between points in space with barely any energy expenditure. Its shields operated on principles that made them nearly impossible to detect yet incredibly effective, and its weapons could disable enemy systems without leaving any trace of hostile action. But it wasn't until their final test that they discovered something truly revolutionary. During a routine probability jump, Zara noticed an anomaly in their sensor readings. "Commander," she called out, her voice tense with excitement, "I'm detecting temporal irregularities around the ship when we execute a jump. We're not just shifting through space, we're briefly phasing through multiple timelines." Raj rushed to verify the readings, his expression shifting from shock to wonder. "She's right. The quantum field isn't just affecting our spatial position, it's letting us surf probability waves through time itself. Not enough to actually time travel, but enough to give us a significant tactical advantage," Elena finished. "We can essentially see multiple probable outcomes of any situation before it happens." As the crew gathered to analyze this unexpected development, Rodriguez voiced what they were all thinking. "The Confederation gave us this ship thinking it would prove our inferiority. Instead, they handed us the key to understanding the universe in ways they never imagined." Elena smiled, but her expression remained serious. "And in 3 weeks at the fleet demonstration, we're going to show them exactly what happens when you underestimate human ingenuity. But remember, we're not doing this to humiliate them. We're doing this to earn our place among the stars." The Earthbound Dawn hung in space, its worn exterior hiding innovations that would soon change the course of galactic history. The crew returned to their stations, each focused on refining their revolutionary systems. They had taken the Confederation's cast-off technology and transformed it into something that defied explanation, at least by Confederation standards. The true test would come at the demonstration, but for now, they had achieved something remarkable. They had proven that humanity's greatest strength lay not in their technology or resources, but in their ability to think beyond established limitations and see possibilities where others saw only obsolescence. Impossible horizons. The observation deck of Confederation Station Alpha buzzed with activity as various alien species gathered to watch the daily ship departures. Among them stood High Counselor Vexther, his multiple eyes fixed on the battered form of the Earthbound Dawn. "They haven't even attempted to repair the cosmetic damage," he remarked to his aide, a serpentine Zalaxian named Thress. "Perhaps they lack even that basic capability." Thress flicked her tongue in agreement, but her response was interrupted by an unexpected sight. The Earthbound Dawn seemed to flicker, like a faulty hologram, before disappearing completely. Seconds later, it reappeared at the very edge of the station's sensor range, a distance that should have taken several minutes to traverse. "A sensor malfunction," Vexther declared, though uncertainty crept into his voice. "Monitor their activities more closely." Aboard the Earthbound Dawn, the crew celebrated their first successful public test. Commander Kovac had deliberately chosen to conduct it within view of the station, knowing it would sow seeds of doubt among their observers. "Quantum transition successful," Zara reported, her fingers dancing across her modified console. "All systems stable and the temporal wake is minimal. They won't be able to detect it unless they know exactly what to look for." Lieutenant Kenzo Yamamoto, their tactical officer, studied the sensor readings with intense focus. "The station's defensive systems didn't even register our movement. As far as they're concerned, we simply ceased to exist for 2.3 seconds. "That's because we did," Raj explained, still amazed by their creation. "We didn't move through space, we shifted through quantum probabilities until we occupied the most likely position for our destination. Their sensors can't track what they don't believe is possible." Elena nodded, satisfaction evident in her expression. "And the weapons test." Jun brought up a holographic display showing a series of asteroids they'd used for target practice in a remote sector. The quantum disruption field works perfectly. When our modified pulse cannons hit a target, they don't cause physical damage. They temporarily force the target to exist in all possible states simultaneously. Rodriguez leaned forward, studying the footage. And the effect? Total but temporary systems failure, Jun replied. Any ship hit by our weapons will experience a complete shutdown as its quantum state fluctuates. By the time they recover, they won't even know what hit them. The implications were staggering. The humans hadn't just modified their ship, they had fundamentally changed the rules of space combat. But Alina knew they had to be careful with this power. Remember, she addressed her crew, our goal isn't to threaten or dominate. We're proving that humanity deserves a real place in the Confederation, not as subordinates but as equals. Later that evening, as most of the crew rested, Zara made a discovery that would change their understanding of their own creation. She had been monitoring the quantum field readings when she noticed something extraordinary. "Commander," she called over the comm, her voice tight with excitement, "you need to see this." Elena arrived at the science lab to find Zara, Raj, and Jun huddled around a complex display of quantum measurements. The readings seemed to pulse with an almost organic rhythm. "The quantum field we're generating," Zara explained, "it's not just affecting space and time, it's creating a kind of consciousness." "Explain," Elena ordered, her eyes fixed on the mesmerizing pattern. Raj stepped forward. "The field we're using to manipulate probability, it's becoming self-aware in a way, not like artificial intelligence, but more like it's learning to anticipate our intentions." "The ship is adapting," Jun added. "Each quantum transition is more efficient than the last. It's as if the very fabric of reality is beginning to cooperate with us." Alina considered the implications. Could this be dangerous? "Actually, it's the opposite," Zara replied. "The field is naturally seeking the most harmonious path through probability. It's making our technology more stable, not less. The Confederation abandoned this research because they couldn't control it. We succeeded because we never tried to control it, we worked with it." As if to demonstrate, the quantum field display shifted, showing dozens of potential futures branching out from their current position. Each pathway was clear, stable, and achievable. "We're not just changing the rules of physics," Rodriguez said from the doorway, having arrived in time to hear the explanation. "We're establishing a new dialogue with reality itself." The crew spent the next several days exploring the implications of their discovery. They found that the more they trusted their quantum field's intuition, the more effective their systems became. The ship wasn't just performing beyond its original specifications, it was evolving. A week before the fleet demonstration, Alina gathered her crew for a final strategic meeting. The Earthbound Dawn had been transformed from an obsolete vessel into something that defied conventional understanding. Its worn exterior now concealed innovations that would reshape humanity's place in the galaxy. "The Confederation thinks they know what we're capable of," Elena told her crew. "They've calculated our potential based on their own linear progression of technological development, but they forgot something crucial about humans." "What's that, Commander?" Kenzo asked. Elena smiled. "We don't just adapt to the universe, we inspire the universe to adapt with us. And in 1 week, we're going to show them exactly what that means." As her crew returned to their final preparations, Alina stood at the viewport, watching the distant stars. The Confederation had meant to humble humanity with a gift of outdated technology. Instead, they had given them the tools to unlock secrets of the universe that their rigid thinking had never allowed them to imagine. The real test would come at the fleet demonstration, but Alina knew they had already achieved something remarkable. They had proven that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their resources. It was their ability to see possibilities where others saw limitations, to work with the fundamental forces of reality rather than trying to dominate them. The Earthbound Dawn hung in space, its quantum field pulsing with potential, ready to show the galaxy that sometimes the most powerful innovations come not from advancement, but from understanding. The demonstration. The grand amphitheater of Confederation Station Alpha was filled to capacity. Representatives from over 300 species gathered to witness the annual fleet demonstration, where member races showcased their latest technological achievements. The Earthbound Dawn, still bearing its weathered exterior, waited in the last position, the slot traditionally reserved for the least impressive display. High Counselor Vexther sat in the central observation pod, surrounded by the Confederation's most prominent military and scientific leaders. Their initial amusement at Earth's participation had been tempered by recent rumors of strange sensor readings around the human vessel. "The humans have made numerous modifications to their ship," reported Admiral Ixel of the Confederation Science Division. "Though our scans show nothing particularly advanced, primitive attempts at improvement at best." Vexther's upper eyes narrowed, and yet there have been anomalies. Before anyone could respond, the demonstration began. The procession of ships moved through their carefully choreographed sequences, each displaying increasingly impressive technological capabilities. Energy weapons that could pierce any known shield, propulsion systems that bent space itself, defensive systems that made ships virtually invulnerable. Finally, it was Earth's turn. Commander Alina Kovach's voice came through the communication channels, calm and professional. "Confederation Council, the Earth vessel Earthbound Dawn requests permission to begin our demonstration." "Granted," Vexther replied, unable to keep a slight note of condescension from his voice. "Though perhaps an abbreviated display would be appropriate." "We'll try not to take too much of your time," Alina responded, and something in her tone made Vexther's scales ripple with unease. The Earthbound Dawn moved into position, its worn hull catching the light of the system's twin suns. For a moment, nothing happened. Then reality itself seemed to hiccup. The ship didn't move so much as shift, appearing simultaneously in multiple locations before settling at a point that, according to every sensor in the amphitheater, should have taken at least 30 minutes to reach. The assembled aliens burst into confused murmurs. "Impossible," Admiral Ixel whispered. "The energy readings, there are none. They didn't use any power at all." Lieutenant Yamamoto's voice came through the comms. "First demonstration complete, transitioning to weapons test." The Earthbound Dawn's outdated pulse cannons targeted a series of automated drones, standard targets used throughout the demonstration. But instead of the expected weak energy discharge, something extraordinary happened. Where the quantum-modified weapons struck, reality itself seemed to ripple. The drones didn't explode or break apart, they simply ceased to exist, as if they had never been there at all. "By the first stars," a Xylaxian scientist breathed, "what did they do?" Jun's voice answered, clear and precise. "Quantum probability manipulation. We didn't destroy your targets. We simply shifted them to a probability state where they never existed in this timeline." The amphitheater erupted in chaos. Confederation scientists rushed to their instruments, trying to understand what they were witnessing. Security vessels moved to defensive positions, only to find their targeting systems unable to lock onto the Earthbound Dawn. It existed in too many probable locations simultaneously. "Fascinating response," Zara commented from her station. "Their ships are actually pushing us further into quantum uncertainty. The more they try to target us, the more impossible we become to target." Alina stood from her command chair. "High Counselor, would you like a demonstration of our defensive capabilities as well?" "That won't be necessary," Vexther replied, his voice strained. "Commander Kovach, the Confederation Council requests an immediate conference." "Of course," Alina agreed, "though first one final demonstration." Before anyone could respond, the Earthbound Dawn executed what appeared to be a standard electromagnetic pulse. As the wave of energy passed through the assembled ships, every vessel's quantum probability field became briefly visible, showing potential futures, past positions, and parallel timelines. "What you're seeing," Raj explained to the stunned audience, "is reality as it actually exists. Not a linear progression, but an infinite web of possibilities. Your ships, your technology, they're already capable of this. You just never thought to look at them this way." The observation pod was silent as the implications sank in. The humans hadn't just modified their ship, they had fundamentally changed how the Confederation understood the universe itself. "Commander," Vexter said finally, "I believe we have significantly underestimated humanity's potential." Elena smiled. "That's understandable, High Counselor. You gave us that ship thinking it would limit us. But humans don't see limitations, we see possibilities waiting to be unlocked." As the Earthbound Dawn returned to its dock, the crew could hear the continuing chaos in the amphitheater. Scientists demanded explanations, military leaders argued about security implications, and diplomats frantically tried to adjust their positions on humanity's role in the Confederation. "Think they got the message?" Rodriguez asked, unable to keep the satisfaction from his voice. Elena watched the confusion with a mixture of pride and hope. "I think they're beginning to understand. Humanity isn't here to follow their rules. We're here to help them see that the rules they created are just the beginning of what's possible." The Earthbound Dawn's quantum field pulsed gently, as if in agreement. In trying to restrict humanity's growth, the Confederation had instead given them exactly what they needed to flourish: a challenge to overcome, a puzzle to solve, and the freedom to think in ways that centuries of advancement had caused others to forget. New rules. 3 days after the fleet demonstration, the Earthbound Dawn's crew found themselves in the grand chamber of the Confederation Council. The vast circular room, designed to accommodate representatives of every member species, hummed with tension and excitement. Holographic displays showed the ship's quantum field demonstrations on endless loops, while the greatest scientific minds in the galaxy debated their implications. Commander Elena Kovac stood at the center of it all, her crew arrayed behind her. The worn uniforms they'd been given now seemed to carry a different meaning, not a sign of their limitations, but a badge of their ingenuity. High Counselor Vexter addressed the assembly, his scales shifting through complex patterns that reflected his mixed emotions. "We must acknowledge what the humans have achieved. In less than 2 months, using technology we discarded centuries ago, they have revolutionized our understanding of quantum mechanics and spatial navigation." "Revolution?" Admiral Ixil interrupted, their crystalline form pulsing with agitation. "They have violated the fundamental principles of physics. Their ship doesn't just ignore our laws of space travel, it suggests that our entire understanding of reality is flawed." "No," Dr. Raj Patel stepped forward, his voice calm but commanding. "We haven't violated your laws of physics. We've shown you that they were incomplete. The universe doesn't follow rules, it follows possibilities." Jun Nakamura activated a holographic display, showing the quantum field patterns they had discovered. "Your civilization advanced so far, so fast, that you stopped looking for alternatives. You found one path that worked and perfected it. But the universe isn't linear, it's infinite." The display shifted, showing how the Confederation's advanced technology actually created similar quantum fields without realizing it. Their brute force approach to faster-than-light travel, their energy-intensive weapons, their impenetrable shields, all of them brushed against the quantum realm but never acknowledged it. "You've been using quantum mechanics all along," Zara Hassan explained, highlighting specific patterns in their data. "You just never realized it because you were too focused on controlling reality instead of working with it." A Xylexian scientist, their serpentine form coiled in concentration, studied the displays. "The quantum consciousness you've discovered, you're saying all our ships could develop this capability." "With the right modifications," Lieutenant Yamamoto confirmed. "The universe isn't just accepting our suggestions, it's eager to explore new possibilities. Your technology has the potential to do the same. You just need to let go of certainty." The chamber erupted in debate. Some council members saw the potential for advancement, while others warned of the dangers of unpredictable technology. Through it all, Elena watched the shift in their perspective, from seeing humans as primitive newcomers to recognizing them as beings who thought in ways they had forgotten how to imagine. Vexter raised all 4 hands for silence. "The question before us is clear. Humanity has proven themselves far more capable than we anticipated. Their probationary status must be reconsidered. Probationary status? First Officer Rodriguez stepped forward. With respect, High Counselor, that's not what this is about. We didn't do this to prove our worth to you. We did this to show you what's possible when you stop limiting yourself to what you think you know. Elena nodded. The Earthbound Dawn isn't just a ship anymore. It's a bridge between your understanding of the universe and what's actually possible. We're offering to help you cross that bridge. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The humans weren't asking for acceptance. They were offering to help the Confederation transcend its own limitations. And if we decline, a crystalline elder asked. Then we'll continue to explore these possibilities on our own, Elena replied. But consider this. You gave us your most outdated ship, thinking it would prove our inadequacy. Instead, we used it to discover aspects of reality your greatest scientists overlooked. Imagine what we could achieve together if we started from a place of collaboration rather than competition. The quantum field around the Earthbound Dawn pulsed gently, creating ripples of possibility throughout the chamber. Every piece of advanced technology in the room responded, their own quantum potentials awakening to new possibilities. Look around you, Raj said softly. Your technology is already trying to tell you something. The universe isn't a set of rules to be mastered, it's a conversation waiting to happen. Over the next several hours, the Council debated the future of human Confederation relations. But the outcome was already clear. The humans had done more than prove their worth. They had shown the galaxy a new way of thinking about reality itself. 1 month later, the Earthbound Dawn led a fleet of Confederation vessels in the first-ever quantum probability navigation exercises. Its worn hull had been preserved, not as a mark of shame, but as a reminder that true innovation comes not from perfect conditions, but from the determination to see beyond apparent limitations. As Elena watched Confederation ships learning to dance through quantum possibilities, she reflected on how far they'd come. The ship that was meant to be their prison had become a key to unlocking the universe's greatest mysteries. And humanity, intended to be a footnote in galactic history, had become teachers to a civilization that had forgotten how to wonder. Commander, Zara called from her station, I'm detecting new quantum field patterns forming. The universe itself seems to be offering us more possibilities. Elena smiled. Then let's explore them together. After all, that's what humans do best. We don't just adapt to the universe, we inspire it to adapt with us. The Earthbound Dawn shimmered with quantum potential, ready to lead the galaxy into a future where the only real limitation was the ability to imagine what might be possible.